So, David, can you introduce yourself? Give us a little bit about your background, and then what is your mission currently?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on the show, Troy. I help parents remove their children from the government school system because I discovered that the forced school system has ulterior motives. I'm the publisher of The Underground History by John Taylor Gatto, the New York State Teacher of the Year multiple times, and I took it personal what they did to me. I went to public school in a small town in Northern California, and I was very upset to understand that the purpose of these schools were to make me a consumer, a clerk for the mega corporations, or a soldier. And that's kind of the essence of John Gatto's work that he did. And as a result of discovering this, I started an Education Options Expo in 2014 because I believe, like Buckminster Fuller, you never change reality by fighting against something. You got to create a new model, makes the old model obsolete. And so I brought together some homeschoolers and charter schools and private schools, Montessori, and you brought up Waldorf the other day. And there's all these different options out there. And I found a model, a voluntary model that's been around for over 100 years in England. It's called Summerhill. And there's a documentary, or actually a fictionalized version of the story, on my YouTube channel called Education Options TV. So I did that for a few years, and I started my own school called Valor Academy, where I do early high school graduations. I also do homeschool consulting, and I do trainings around the country. I actually did a homeschool training in China like 5 years ago, which is amazing. And turns out the parents want to empower their children, but this conversation has been so convoluted, and there's a huge business involved, Troy. An audience is over $700 billion, so there's major money in this enterprise. So the people that are making the money, they love it, but at the detriment of the children with the jabs and the sex curriculum and now the transgender stuff. I mean, they're just perverting truth. And so I try to help as many parents as I can to understand what's happening on the planet. And that's a quick intro. I sold my first business at age 26, and that's kind of the short version of it. So I'm just here to help parents and really empower the young people, because when I look at the child, I see myself. When I look at a young person that's in the school system suffering over homework and all these irrelevant things, I say, that's me suffering, and I can fully relate with them and have a lot of compassion for them. And now we have the internet, so we don't need we don't need all this compulsory learning environments anymore.
Yeah, I was kicked out of every school that I ever went to. I have always challenged authority. I looked into my own birth as well. So I looked at the business of birthing. And of course, there are many of these corporate challenges that we see as the status quo, but nothing could be more detrimental to your own development than birthing in a hospital. And so I came out of the womb fighting. They actually grabbed my head out of my mother's vagina with those spatulas. And so I came out fighting. And so I got kicked out of every single school that I was sent to until I started paying for school in college. And then of course, I excelled when I was voluntarily putting myself through it. And so, talk to us a little bit about how the systems are set up. You talked about money. Now, my daughter, she's in Montessori charter school here, so they have state accepted money. And I noticed that when we are late, I have to sign her in. And so my brain starts thinking, well, where does that record go to? What is that for? And the ladies, they love me because I think different, and they're patriots here. They've helped run this school, this Montessori charter school, for 25 years. So they get it. They want to offer the development to the child something different, but they're still a little bit beholden to the state. And so when I asked her what happens when I sign in, she said that's how they get paid. So the attendance and their record, and they get graded on testing and attendance. That's how they get paid. So can you speak a little bit about the funding for schools and the business of schooling?
Yes. So you brought up the attendance. This is the number one way they get paid. It's called average daily attendance, or ADA. And then with the whole pandemic, the schools got a lot of money from that. And then years before that, with the national Common Core curriculum that Bill Gates was putting out, they got cash from that. So, and this is before I kind of go deeper into the business and the money. My mom was a public school teacher, for 20 years. I have family members that are in the system now. So I know there's good, loving, sweet people in the system who join with good intentions. And then when they join, they realize they don't have much freedom in their classroom. They're actually like pedagogues for the state. So the state makes the curriculum and the teacher then delivers the curriculum. And as you said, they get graded on the test scores in their own classroom. So there's no freedom of thought, freedom of choice. And then if you think about the all the enterprises connected to schooling. So one is the books, the computers, the architects, the uniforms, the buses, the food, the trash, everything that's involved. It is a major business, and so this is the crux of the matter. So these political entities love the system because it's for the kids, right? And this is one of the challenges, because I actually want to empower the kids, and the politicians use the children as a tool of manipulation to control the parents, because who doesn't want to empower the children? And it's for the kids, and the politicians, they speak so good and they dress so sharp, and it's like, yeah, they're really trying to help, but you got to go to the roots of the business. And this is it came over here from Prussia, Germany in 1852 in Boston, Massachusetts, and they actually had to take children to school with bayonets and guns because the parents weren't going to give their children up. So it was a very coercive operation. And if the school system was so good, then everybody would say, yeah, let's have state mandated schooling. But it took 10 years, I think, for the next state made the mandatory attendance policy. And then over the next 70 years, it took to get the rest of the union under the foot of these mandatory attendance policies. But that's the number one reason. So the charter schools are a little bit better than the mainstream schools. But then again, there's no such thing as a free lunch. So the state has their own agenda. So when they're given that free money, the teachers probably don't even know about it, but the underlying curriculum is obedience, subordination, intimidation, fear, humiliation. They don't want leaders. They don't want another Troy Casey or these great leaders out here speaking their voice and doing what's right and pursuing their own mission on this planet. They want people, and of course with Agenda 21, United Nations, we see a global totalitarian state, not just like underground. It's now being out in the open, World Economic Forum, these types of things. That's what they're promoting now, is global citizenship and allegiance to the state rather than allegiance to your family, your values, your faith, your mission, your purpose, your dreams. There's honor, morality, integrity. There's so many great things that young people like yourself, me too, I rebelled against the system. And except my parents, God bless you, Mom and Dad, I love you, they use the sports system as a way to control me. They said, you have to have a 3.0 if you want to play sports. And so I was a 3-sport athlete, and that was my only joy, really. I had some fun with friends and such inside, but for the most part, the tests, the homeworks, the papers, something told me that this was all a bunch of BS. And then once I found John Gatto's work and Charlotte Isserbit and Anthony Sutton and Sam Blumenfeld, there's a lot of people who have put in work to research this, and now we're kind of at the cusp where it's like, hey, Mom and Dad, here's what's going on, and it's a good idea to redefine education and get clear, Mom and Dad, on what do you desire for your son or daughter, because what's going on in these schools, in my opinion, is diabolical and intolerable.
Great, awesome. So can you explain how you help parents and what avenues you take?
Yes, so I'm also the director of the Gatto movement, and this is an acronym for Gatto, which means get all the thinkers out of forced schooling. There's a great quote that John Taylor Gatto has, and he says, all effort to change schooling is a huge waste of time, energy, and resources. And this is after he had 30 years in the classroom and then another 15 or 20 years afterwards promoting homeschooling and going deep, because it's a big business. They don't want to change, so don't change it. So get them out of the system. I mainly do with early high school graduation. So I graduate 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds, and above to get them out and get them on to either working at a job or starting an apprenticeship or a community college or starting a business. And even some can go on to university if they want to. But from, age 13, 14, your mind is there. And now you want to take that resilience and that energy and go do something with your free time that you have, because you got 5 or 6 years you're under mom and dad's roof, free rent. Go try stuff, go explore things, and go on to adventures. So early high school graduation and then homeschool consulting. I've created over 20 curriculum in my Facebook group called Homeschool Leader. And this is, the slogan is helping parents to raise moral leaders that are happy and healthy. Because along with learning and success, I think morality is probably higher than that. And we're having a moral crisis on the planet with all the wars that's going on, all the robbery known as taxation. I mean, it is a serious problem. And sometimes I'll post questions on my social media. I'll say, where is the moral leaders? Who are the moral leaders? It used to be like pastors and community leaders, and it's like there are none, right? So we're looking, and sometimes, of course, like Kyrie Irving spoke up a little bit about the jabs, or Aaron Rodgers and these guys. I got so much respect for these guys that put their career on the line. Ice Cube even, trying to draw a line in the sand. So these dudes are the moral leaders because these other people are getting money. And, one of my mentors taught me, he said, big money makes people act funny. So, these people have a lot of money and they're getting paid, basically shut up and go along with the program. And so homeschooling, apprenticeship consulting is a big one too. I'll do workshops. People can fly me in to do weekend events, to do trainings, get 20, 30 plus people in the room and redefine what success is for your child, and understand that these phones, my gosh, man, the most revolutionary learning technology in the history of the planet. One of my posts recently was kind of not really saying college is terrible or evil, but it's like a waste of time and money. And some people are so attached to this degree. And I don't know about you, but I have a degree. Nobody ever asked to see it. They don't care about my GPA. It was totally irrelevant. So now it's about skills, knowledge, relationships, honor, respect, integrity. And I think this is some of the traits of an educated person.
Okay, awesome. Let's take this into the practical. So I've got a 13-year-old and a 16-year-old. Part of the thing with school, especially with my daughter, she wants that socialization. She wants some type of friendship, but she is a very big self-starter. The children have been with me every day. I spend lots of time with them. And so, I definitely want to sidestep as much indoctrination as I possibly can. As it is, she gets stressed out about wanting to do good in her test. And there's nothing wrong with that, energetically wanting to do good, but good for what? And a good according to who? And so what are some suggestions in the direction I could possibly take my son? Because let's face it, he's very talented in hockey. He wants to play hockey. Going to school is he's in a boarding school in Tahoe right now, and they send him to the public school. He's smart enough that I've trained him, and he's a Waldorf educated child. He's smart enough to make his own assumptions, decisions, points of view. However, what's the best way for him to get his certificate, get him out, get him studying whatever he wants, and have his hockey teams be able to accept him, or get him into college early and get him a scholarship to play for college, something like that?
Right. So I would start with that, say everything's negotiable. And if your son's a stud at hockey, which it sounds like he is, you can learn to promote yourself and make some own highlight tapes or something like that, so we can send it to the admissions department. These colleges really like homeschool people, or people that have had an early graduation or demonstrated some independent thinking, because again, back to business. These colleges are businesses. And let's say your son gets a scholarship because he's a rock star, he's a great athlete. Well, let's say he goes pros or semi-pros or somehow makes a name out there and becomes this great guy. Then they're going to ask, where did he go to college? So the college gets the credit, even though it's you and the family and his own efforts, which actually created that success. But they will say, oh, a badge, you went to, whatever university. So that's where I would begin. And then my early high school graduation process is very simple because there's public standards of graduation and there's private standards of graduation. Mine is you do an exit essay, you get a letter of recommendation, and you complete the enrollment form. Very simple. And then from the college perspective, you think from the admissions director. They want people that are going to be famous, people that are going to be wealthy, or people that are going to be well known so that they can say, yes, he went to our college. So these admissions directors are generally pretty adept at looking for star athletes or star students. And that's where I would begin to look at the process. And then you could even contact the coach, at that university and begin a conversation with them. Say, hey, my son's, this age and he wants to come over and we can get him out. Is there a scholarship available? And then based on his talent and mindset and their recruiting process, they can offer those scholarships. So it comes to really personal relationships and in reaching out and taking the initiative. A lot of these schools want people that are going to be there for all 4 years or be a famous person and then they go back to it because the institution, right? These universities and colleges have been around for hundreds of years plus sometimes. So they're more concerned about the existence and perpetuation of the institution rather than, one little person or one little guy. It's like, okay, how can this benefit the entire organization? And yeah, if they have scholarships, especially for the sports teams, then I would reach out to the coach and have that conversation and say, hey, yeah, is there a way that we can get him going and maybe, get an extra 18 months of training before the rest of the people come in? Because in Europe, they have these soccer teams, right? They call it the football in Europe. They have academies where you can get your son to come in, 10, 12, and then they spend the next 6, 8 years developing their skills to be a baller, footballer on their team for a corporation for the money. And then, look at Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi and these guys.
David,
I believe both those guys
David Beckham.
went to the academy.
David Beckham went through that program.
There you go. Yeah. So it's understanding the economics of it and the institutional aspect of it, and then the individual component, which is you reach out. If I was an athlete and trying to, go pro or do something great, I would make a highlight reel and kind of highlight my skills and then demonstrate my like language abilities and maybe leadership abilities, community involvement. They want moral, honorable people to join their community, right? Their college. They don't want some buddies on the street and causing all this riffraff. Because that affects the culture of the college, the culture of the team. But an upstanding leader, even with poor grades, like that person can win on the team because at the highest level, shooting a puck into a net and passing and leading has nothing to do with mathematics or language arts or these like things that they correlate in the school system where you got to have a 2.0 to play, and it's just like, no, that's not what it's about. It's getting the grades so you can get the money from the state and get it from the federal and these grants, and so it's really insane. But those are some of the ideas that I would share with someone that wanted to get to college and graduate early.
That's a great angle, and I think we'll consult with you, offline as well. It sounds like you've got some really great ideas. And then with my daughter, 13, she's 7th grade. We are considering high school. The problem with sending her to the schools right now is she builds friendships, and then those friends, they want to go to the critical race theory and the gender bending, public institutions known as high school. And no way. We actually are lucky enough here in the Valley to have a high school. It just so happens to be, 40 minutes from my house every day, but we will look into that Waldorf high school. But what do you suggest, even for my daughter, who she's a superstar? She could easily build a business tomorrow. I haven't unleashed her into the world yet because I just want her to be a child.
All right. She's 13. Did she turn 14 this year or next year?
The end of this year.
Okay. So Back in the old days, a 14-year-old young lady was, be getting married, let's say 100 years ago, right? Maybe the aged longevity has an impact on it. But it's what John Gatto calls it extended childhood. My grandfather was 7 years old when his father said, "Hey, Elmer, come on, you're going to help me on the farm today." And my grandfather has that defining moment. He said, "After that, I was working on the farm at age 7." So, it depends on the direction and the vision of her life or herself, and of course, you and the family. But I think the most important thing is she understands this is her life and it's her choice. And yeah, you can continue in the school system and you can leave the school system. We're giving you freedom of choice. And it sounds like you have given her a foundation of what's going on in the school system. But, 13, 14, 15, we want to hang out with our buddies. We want to hang out with our peers. So it's tough. I have a lot of clients that are also in this situation. And it's like, let them know this is your life. But if the stress gets too much or just the disrespect is too high, you can leave. Also, you can still hang out with your friends if you choose to homeschool or graduate or start a business. Like, you can still hang out together. You can come out, they can come over in the afternoons, or you can go spend lunch together or the weekends or whatever. So there's this idea that they're going to miss out on something because Susie and Jennifer are over here and I'm over here. But there's, I think, some movies or films that would show young people pursuing their dreams at a young age that might inspire her, inspire some of the young people out there to go for it. I can't remember the sailing one. I'll put it in the comments later, but there's a young girl, I think 14 years old, sailed around the world. I think it might be called Sailor, because she read a book from an 18-year-old, 17-year-old boy who sailed around the world, and she wanted to be the youngest girl, so she went for a dream. And I think that's the most important question I ask young people is, have you found your dream yet? Or are you still looking for your dream? Because nobody ever asked me that question until I was like 21, and I thought my original dream was to make a lot of money and sit on the beach. I didn't know what the dream was. And then I found out that life is precious and consciousness is sacred and holy, and I should do something with my life and help the young generation and, be of service to humans. That's like a good thing, kind of like what you and probably much of your audience are doing. But to give them freedom of choice, let them know grades really don't matter in life. All this stress, all this worry that they gave me for, I was worried, like I said, I had to get these grades to play sports and, going to college, and it literally made no difference. Even my college, it took me 5 years and 3 different colleges to go to and $50,000. Nobody has ever asked to see it. So what we're talking about is a complete inversion of what education is, what success is. And to start with that question and maybe, let that seed kind of get planted and germinate of what is success. This is one of the best questions. And I like Coach John Wooden's definition. He says success is peace of mind, which is a direct result in self-satisfaction in knowing you made the effort to become the best of which you're capable, which Earl Nightingale would just say, to become the best, to try to become your best. That's a great success definition, but each one of us has the freedom to define that for our own pleasure and enjoyment and fulfillment. These are some of the better questions rather than, getting a college degree, in my opinion. And that's what a lot of families are still stuck on. God bless the parents out there that, I wanted my daughter or son to go to college. For what? To achieve what? Back in the old days, or I should say, this may be 1800s, the American dream was an independent livelihood. It was not wealth and abundance. It was doing what you wanted to do because you enjoyed doing it. And a lot of the people were like artists, and authors and writers and these types of healers. And it's like, well, you can't make a good living doing that. It doesn't matter. This is how I want to spend my life. This is how I want to serve others and be of value. And this is where the banksters and all the, consumerism has come in, the bling, like, yeah, millions and trillions of dollars, that's success. Well, I saw Tony Robbins just say this the other day. He says, I know 50 billionaires, and he said 2 of them are actually happy because they're not doing the inner work, the spiritual work of, what is happiness, what is fulfillment, and some of these better questions.
Well, great, man. This is a great conversation. What are some resources that parents can check out for their children?
The voluntary school really changed my life once I discovered this one. And that's a movie called Summerhill from 2008. If you search that, it's free on YouTube. I have the Homeschool Leader Facebook group. We got over 3,000 members there on Facebook. I think we're on Telegram as well. And you can look at davidjamesrodriguez.com. I have some other resources. John Taylor Gatto, his videos on YouTube are amazing. And one of his best ones is from Richard Grove and Tragedy and Hope. It's titled The Ultimate History Lesson. And it's 5 hours.
Yeah.
And I've watched it multiple times. I don't know if you've seen that, but it's like he did.
I watched that. That's what got us out of, I think we were in kindergarten in public school. And I knew there had to be a better way. And then Paul Check, my mentor, taught me about Rudolf Steiner, and then we interviewed there, and it was a perfect fit at the time, and we got good results. A lot of those results were because they were zero media policy. I moved from Los Angeles during the pandemic because they went from zero media to 6 hours on Zoom, and I got my children in a school, in a Waldorf school here in Sedona, Arizona, with no masks in 2020. And so that's kind of where we went down with our Waldorf experience. And then the city of Sedona kicked the children out. They evicted them from a Sedona Unified School District building. Real backhanded real estate deals, some kind of just dirty politics. I moved to a small town. I thought this is America. And then you would do like a bake sale to save the children's school or something. No, nothing but passing the buck. And so really dirty politicians in the small towns was what I witnessed. And so again, the World Economic Forum policies just being baked into these small municipalities. And so John Taylor Gatto, I watched his 4 or 5 hour documentary. I got it from Dave's website, thetrivium.com. And so Trivium, I do believe, is reason, logic, and grammar. And so the basic fundamentals. And so so I appreciate that. And where can people get more information from you? Do you have a website, David?
Yeah. The davidjamesrodriguez.com or the Valor Academy if you're interested in early high school graduations, the Valor Academy. And if you want to consult with me, you can email me at info@thevaloracademy.com. I have a YouTube channel, Education Options, on YouTube, and those are probably the best places, to reach out. And it's just a beautiful time to be alive, mothers and fathers out there. Understand there's a mass awakening. I call it the Great Self-Ownership Awakening. I knew around 8 or 9 what was going on, but nobody told me about self-ownership. No one told me about personal responsibility because I was looking at the adults in my life, and I found out later that the adults don't know either. So this is kind of like what's happening is the controllers have lost control of media and the narrative. So you and I can talk right here freely, and other podcasts and things out there. So it's time to really start asking ourselves, what is it to be a human being? What is it to be successful? What is it to be educated? And how can we live a great life and be good humans and good people and make a difference? Because it is intergenerational, what's going on. I have one of my topics is called Intergenerational Freedom. And this is the transfer of the knowledge of the truth of self-ownership to the young people around us. So lots of different topics to discuss. I'd love to continue this with you or other people out there. And maybe we can do some workshops or whatever it might be. But the children are suffering and they don't need to. So thank you, Troy, for having me on the show. Being a visionary father yourself and all the good work you're doing out there to promote healthy lives and mind and spirit and challenging the narrative. I think it's very important that courageous men like you and myself and many men and women out here are being brave despite all the. It's actually the tide is turning. It's shifting now, and I can feel it. But they need some people out there to kind of speak loudly and boldly. I know it's not easy being out there, I've been targeted, and I think you probably have been as well. So safety and strength in numbers, and yeah, feel free to reach out, mothers and fathers, and look forward to speaking with you again, Troy.
Yeah, where are you located, David?
I'm in Northern California.
Is that the town you grew up in?
Close to it. Yeah, Mount Shasta is my hometown, and I'm actually in Redding right now, which is quite a conservative county. And actually, Del Bigtree did a great video, I think it was 2 years ago. Shasta County walked out because the supervisors here were trying to put the mask, and then they saw the vaccine agenda coming. And so they walked out, and then Del Bigtree did a FOIA request, his lawyer, and he got the letters from the 15 superintendents that had contacted Governor Newsom and Richard Pan and all these criminal cronies over here. And the letter said, hey, Governor, hey, politicians, if you do this forced jab here, we're going to lose up to 70% of our enrollment. It's going to fracture the districts, and it's probably going to inspire other counties to remove their children from the school system. So this county up here really did a great thing in walking out when they were doing the mass, seeing that this whole jab agenda was coming. And I think that's probably one of the solutions, is to be in a semi-rural area if possible, around some moral people, because a whole different topic, but I was in Santa Cruz during the pandemic, a super leftist, statist county, and I was targeted and my friends were targeted for having bonfires on the beach when everything was shut down. And I'm like, what are we doing? We're exercising our God-given rights peacefully and harmoniously. Why are they coming after us? It's because government's organized crime, statism is slavery, it's a religion, and that's why they make your child pledge allegiance to the flag. As a child, you didn't even know what that word means, pledge allegiance, you know? So I think it's important that mothers and fathers start talking about morality in the home, values, what's important, what's our priorities as a family, because it's not grades. Gatto would say adventures, experience, and exploration. So I like that slogan as well. Go out for some adventures, go out for some experiences. Nobody's going to ask you about your grades in college or high school, but they will say, you know, what type of experiences have you gone on, or what type of cultures have you tested or embodied, you know, like what do you care about in this life? And I think that's what this experience of being human is about, to unfold. I know there's so much to talk about. The word education comes from the word educo, which means to pull from within. So also, like Buckminster Fuller, I believe every child's a born genius. And parents, you don't need to do anything to your child, but you create an environment where personalized learning can occur. And that environment is an environment of peace, respect, safety, allowing mistakes, in fact, encouraging mistakes instead of putting them in a situation where they're afraid to fail. And as you know, as a successful man, failure is one of the greatest teachers, and learning how to adjust and deal with it. This is life, you know, and every day is a gift. And to come to that truth of present moment consciousness has been really helpful for me as well, rather than predicting what's going to happen and worrying about that. The worries will come, the future will come, but to be present now with our children, I think, is one of the best things we can focus on and put our time and energy into.
Awesome. Adventure experiences and what else?
Exploration. Yeah, John's got so many great little one-liners like that. I run his Twitter account as well, so he's at Real John Gatto on Twitter. And yeah, we're trying to scale up so people can know about his work. He wrote Dumbing Us Down. He wrote Weapons of Mass Instruction. And then the book that I published is The Underground History of American Education, Volume 1, An Intimate Investigation into the Prison of Modern Schooling.
Well, feel free to tag me over there and I'll help you as much as I can. I'm not on Twitter all the time, but feel free to tag me in anything, and I retweet anything good on there. Whenever I'm on there, I retweet a lot. And so, well, I really appreciate you, David, and I plan on consulting with you further. And thank you for doing what you're doing, man.
Absolutely. Likewise, man. Thanks for having the courage to, you know, do what you're doing and have these real questions about the 13-year-old and 16-year-old, because this is where a lot of parents struggle. You know, it's easy to go from like 0 to 7 in playtime, but from 8 to 14, 16, they're becoming an adults. These are real questions, and it'd be an honor to work with you. So thanks for having me on, Troy.
Awesome, David. Okay, thank you so much. We'll see you soon, brother.
Everybody, peace and love.
Okay. And so awesome. So there you go, David and his alternative educational options. He is a student of John Taylor Gatto. John Taylor Gatto. If you have small children and you're going to educate them soon, watch John Taylor Gatto. He was a teacher in the Bronx, New York, and he was teacher of the state and teacher teacher of New York and teacher of the state many times over, right? Many times over. 30-year career in education. John Taylor Gatto has great content on YouTube. And so please educate yourself on that. Somebody else asked a question.